episode 26. I can't believe it's been 26 episodes. That's mad. I thought today was gonna be a little bit dry, but it wasn't dry. I think she took it that you were kind of putting her down and stuff. And he was like, I'm not gonna apologize. Because whenever I think about a list, I go straight to Ross and Rachel. I just find it really weird that like there is that much like insecurity about someone that's your actual friend who's actually rooting for you as well. In typical Luke style, he's like, do you like Malt Loaf? And she's like, I don't know what Mold Loaf is. What Mold Loaf? And I actually don't even think that what he's saying even really makes sense. How do you spend that much time with someone with something that's so important to you or such a big part of your life and you don't talk about it like at all? It's nice to be able to do those kind of things with someone who isn't stiff. And actually, while we're on the subject, yeah, I've done the list and you are alarmingly like my ex. What going on, people? Thems. So I've just finished watching episode 26. I can't believe it's been 26 episodes. That's mad. Of Married at First Sight, and I thought today was gonna be a little bit dry. If I'm honest, I was like, I don't know what, like all the big characters are kind of gone. Really, like the big tumultuous ones. I mean, Alex is gone. I have to call her Jodie. Holly's gone. Or Casper and Emma, not Helen. Beef. That's gone. But it wasn't dry. There's just still so much like even you don't think there's gonna be any issue, like up pops an issue, and you're like, what? Wife swap week or husband's wife and husband swap, partner swap week. Some people are kind of excited about the fact that Alex isn't here, i.e. Sasha. She's just like, I'm so glad, because at least because that probably would have been awkward. Imagine putting Sasha with Alex, really. And Luke was very much like, couldn't understand as to why Lacey kind of piped up about the photo. Now, do you think, yeah, to be honest, I think the photo was worse than what the video would have been. I think if they'd shown a video of Lacey like jumping up and doing the salsa thing that she was doing, and Adam picking up and dropping it out, I think that would have looked a lot better than that particular picture, because it did just look a little bit like I'm wheelbarrowing you right now. So I can understand a little bit what is a bit like, oh, front to front. It was a little bit close. He again like stood 10 toes down. Amy was like, yeah, I can kind of see, you were defending me and like praising me, and I was really grateful that, for that actually. But in the same token, by you doing that, I think she took it that you were kind of putting her down and stuff. And he was like, I'm not gonna apologize for having an opinion. You know how much I love Luke in it, but I was like, do you know what though? At the same time, what I'm like inferring from what you're saying there is that women or girls who dance like that don't have class or don't have integrity. I mean, I don't even know where the integrity part even, because I thought it was dignity that you said yesterday, but it was integrity. But I'm just like, well, obviously you are welcome to have whatever opinion you want. Do you know what I mean? Here's me with a reaction channel, fully giving my opinion. But then you can't then expect that like her reaction isn't going to be excuse you. Just because I'm doing a dance and I'm a dancer and I'm dancing with someone doesn't mean that I don't have class or integrity. Like the two things don't even come close. So I think as long as he's open to like owning that opinion, like, and being prepared to defend that opinion, then I think fair enough. Do you know what I mean? If that's what you actually think, I wouldn't have thought that like at all. Especially then given the context and knowing like how it went and what the day was about and stuff. I don't know how that could still be the opinion, but whatever. That was his opinion, so that's cool. And then conversely, over in Lacey and Nathan's camp, Lacey's like, it's definitely caused a bit of an issue between Luke and I now, and I want an apology. Who's he calling? Classless, integrityless, Bay. So I think she's like, I want an apology. Oh, and then you've got Kieran and Christina. They are struggling a little bit because obviously what was said yesterday, he's made it quite clear that his head is like all over the place and stuff, and like, he doesn't want to be intimate with her. He doesn't know where his head is at. Doesn't want to waste his time with the wrong person. So he said all these things, which is obviously I'm sure would be like rattling around her head, and particularly the whole thing about the ex and the fact that like there's he's locked himself off because of what his ex did, and the experts have even said to him, look, well, maybe the good thing for you to do, write these things down and try and see how different, Christina is from your ex, and you'll probably see once you start to delve a bit deeper, that there's a lot of things that can show you that you can trust her. So he starts doing his list, and he's basically saying that like there's a lot of things between Christina and the ex that are the same. The positive side, the only positive difference, yeah, she's an outgoing person, whereas the ex wasn't. I don't remember what was on the negative side, but I feel as though there was a lot of stuff on the negative side that was the same as well. So just picture that for a moment, right? So because whenever I think about a list, I go straight to Ross and Rachel, and we all know how that ended up. Yeah, she does not have chubby ankles, and she's not a Rachel. It's obviously sensible to put like a list together. We probably do that anyway, where we probably do make a list, whether it's a physical one or a mental one. And, and I guess he can only be honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, so no one's saying that like he should make a list and fabricate it. But like when he turned over that list and he was like, oh, there's only one thing on here positive that distinguishes Christina from his ex, and it was the outgoing thing. I was like, wow. Christina's already said, how unique she is, how special she is, and he said the same thing to her. So either like the things that he's detailing like are just very, very like basic things that like anybody would probably have, or he genuinely doesn't see like anything particularly like special about Christina because he's basically saying they look the same or that they've got the same qualities. Anyway, so Polly is going to be swapping with Nathan. Adam and Amy are going to be staying together. Lacey and Luke will be staying together. Ross is swapping with Kieran, so Ross will be staying with Christina. And Sasha will be staying with Kieran. When Nathan told Lacey that she'd be staying with Luke, she genuinely was like, "Rah." Because I can imagine it's going to be awkward, right? But at the same time, I don't think it was deep. If that had been like a Sasha and an Alex situation, I think that would have been deep. But I don't think it was really that deep, to be fair. Adam's obviously told Polly, and she's obviously quite excited to be getting Nathan. But as soon as she heard that Adam was getting Amy, you could see that she was innocently like just in her own feelings like about it. All of those insecurities that Polly's got just came bubbling right to the like bubbling right to the surface, like to the point where I even thought she went a little bit like discolored. Do you know what I mean? Like was really quite physically uncomfortable with that. Even though she's quite excited to be staying with Nathan, I guess it comes with the territory in it because Amy is an attractive person. But I don't know, like these people have known each other now for like over a month and stuff. So I can only think about it like, say if I don't know, you want to work retreat or something. I'm trying to think of anything whereby you'd be in that proximity with people for that length of time, from school to uni, like any group of people that end up spending that. I mean, you could be on a week's holiday and become quite good friends with people, right? So you're in this super hyper intense situation with these people. You know that they're married, you're married, they're all trying to work on their own marriages and stuff. I just find it really weird that like there is that much like insecurity about someone that's your actual friend who's actually rooting for you as well, for them to be staying with Adam. Like regardless of who it is, like it's well, no, not regardless. Specifically someone that you are friends with who's also in the competition, who's not giving any indication whatsoever that there's even the slightest bit of interest in Adam. So yeah, I think how she kind of responded was just a little bit like, and I get it, like she's human. People are going to respond how they respond. And actually, I forgot that she was neurodiverse. I didn't remember that she had ADHD, which may go some way to explaining some elements of the way that she reacts and responds to things. Like, I don't want to completely just, put it down to that because I don't think that would be fair to her either. But when Nathan was talking about his ADHD to her and stuff, and then she was like, "Oh, me and well, I'll get to that in a minute." But it just reminded me. I was like, "Oh my god, I forgot that altogether." Yeah, she's packing up her stuff and whatever, and she's like, "It's very intimate for some, for another woman to be coming into the home. It's a very intimate space." She puts the picture of her and Adam like above the bed and stuff, and she's like, that's a picture of us being solid. And it's like, she's giving mad insecure. I mean, look, she might have just been bantering. Do you know what I mean? But I also don't feel like she was bantering, whether she meant to do it or not. But like, I would have taken that to be like, well, Polly's been in here and she's put that above the bed. So that kind of indicates really that, like, well, I don't know actually, because she could just be like, this is where we lie, and we like to see that picture. But I was just thinking that if I'd walked in and seen that picture there, and you've told me that Polly's put that picture there, I'd be like, well, she's kind of giving me the green light then to come stop in the bed. Yeah, so everyone's kind of moving in and stuff. And it's funny because I don't know whether everyone's come with like everything. Because like Kieran comes with what looks like an iPad or a pad and his like banjo or whatever. Whereas Amy's come with three suitcases. And I didn't, and I still don't really understand if it was just for the one night because it looks as though they had the night, well, they had the day, they had the night, the morning after, and then they'd be returning to their partners within like 2 hours or whatever. So it kind of felt like it was just a day and a night thing, day and night in the morning. But then I'm like, well, why would you ever need three suitcases for one night? That doesn't make no sense. So I don't really know how long that process was. But anyway, so when they eventually get there, everyone's kind of like, buzzing and whatever. Lacey that sits down with Luke and basically has that heart to heart with him about like how she felt, and that she was kind of offended by like what he was kind of insinuating. Well, not even insinuating, what he actually said. And he was like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna apologize, because that's my opinion. Like, I'm not sorry for having an opinion. And she went on to explain, look, I'm a dancer. Do you know what I mean? And I don't feel like, especially because there's so much trust in me and Nathan, she's like, I don't feel like me dancing with anyone means that I'm not, like, with class, or there's a lack of integrity at all. I can't remember exactly what else she said, but it got to the point where he was like, oh, do you know what, I can really see that what I've said has upset you, and actually I'm really sorry that it upset you and it hurt you, because I can see that it's hurt you. Then in typical in typical Luke style, he was like, do you like Malt Loaf? And she's like, I don't know what Malt Loaf is. What Mold Loaf? And he's like, Malt Loaf. Bread. It's like a bread type thing. And anyway, he's like, I can show you with that. And I was like, how is he gonna show her with Malt Loaf that he's sorry? And then I thought, is he gonna try and explain in some Luke way why? Like, I don't know how he's gonna do it, but like how the malt loaf being whole is classy and has integrity, but then when you take the pieces off it, I was like, how is it, what's he about to do here? But then he spelled I'm sorry in the malt loaf. I was like, that is really cute. So she accepted his apology. They were all cool, Amy and Adam. And like I said, like she's moved in with three suitcases. Like she's explaining that this photo's on the wall. That they're gonna get on and they're gonna have some fun because they're quite cool with each other and stuff. And like one of the things that is probably gonna really help him being able to talk about intimacy, because he's not that he just finds it really uncomfortable to like even talk about intimacy. And she's saying that actually having some time away from Luke will be good to kind of see how other husbands are with their wives, how they're treating them. But they've kind of set out their stalls for what they're both looking to get, I think, from it. And the fact that they're friends, I think, makes it really, really easy. They're both comfortable to stay in the bed as well. Like, so they've kind of like knocked that out of the park. I mean, it was Adam that brought that up, to be fair. And I do think the cynical part, like the wholesome part of me is just like, they're just two friends, and they can just have bants and get on, and it's all fine. I've got like girlfriends of mine who I could happily sleep in a bed with. And there was a part of me that was a bit like, I wonder if he's also like, she's so fine, and I'm gonna get to sleep next to someone that's so fine, and I don't know whether he was also excited for that too. I don't know. Crosses over to the other guys, and Christina's explaining to Ross that she's like, I've waited, I've been patient. I don't really know what else I can really do because the ball really is in his court, in terms of Kieran. Then Sasha's talking to Kieran, and he's like, I did what the experts asked me to do. I've done the list, and he's telling her basically that she's horrifyingly like my ex. Like, they're so similar. And then he explains again about the one thing that they don't have in common is the fact that she's outgoing. And they get into the conversation because it's not just the thing that's on the list. He's also saying like we are literally a couple of weeks away from final commitment ceremony. He's like, I don't want to be in a position where I'm telling like Christina no, I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to hurt her. It's like, but I am seeing that there are some fundamental differences that we have. So let's start talking about them. And he's like, I've said to Christina, if you could, do something that you enjoy for the rest of your life, or get a husband, which one would you prioritize? And she said getting a husband, and he's just like, see, I would never do that. I would never prioritize a wife. And Sasha's like explaining that like, oh, maybe it's different for guys because they're very career driven and focused, whereas women like they want to their roles in the home. And it's just really interesting in it because I don't know many of my female friends. I don't know many of my female friends that would be like their role is to be at home. I don't know many that would say that off the bat, particularly framed in that kind of context, like career, being at home. Like most of them would be like the two go hand in hand. Like I'm a homemaker, but I'm also a career-driven person. But at the same time, there is room for like that OG mentality as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't think anyone should be shamed for it because at the end of the day, like, it's not my business. Like, whatever you see your role is, if that's what you think your role is, cool. Like, do what makes you happy. But I did think when she said that, I was like, I don't think those are the two options really. And I actually don't even think that what he's saying even really makes sense. I don't know anybody. Okay, say that your passion's pottery, or that in fact, perfect example, your passion, yeah. I don't know if anyone remembers that episode of Friends where Pete, rich multi-million dollar Pete, yeah, who owns that massive tech company, whatever, he decides he wants to be a UFC fighter. I didn't know what UFC was back then either, and he sucks. He's terrible to the point where Monica, who wasn't really interested in him at first, but eventually got like interested in him. Then started to have feelings for him. Then had this whole thing about whether they're gonna get married or not. He's got this passion of being this UFC fighter, but because he's so terrible and he's getting like mash up, absolutely destroyed in that ring. She's like, bro, I can't watch you do this. I care about you too much to watch you get battered every week. You just got punched in the throat. Like I'm good. I'm out. Now he was like, I can't give this up because that's just not how I'm built. I will not stop until I am the best. Don't get me wrong, I can understand someone having like a desire to succeed. Fair enough. But the desire to succeed so much that you forgo someone that you're actually in love with, I find that really weird. And I know there's an argument to say, well, actually, if they loved you, they'll just support you 100%. But for you to actively say, I am never going to pick you over something that I, because you got, what is a passion if it's not something that you enjoy and that you love? But someone that you're getting married to, surely should be the passion of your life. I'm not saying that you put that above your interests or your hobbies or your aspirations or your goals, but I do think it's something that like it kind of comes hand in hand, that you negotiate and you talk about and you discuss and you see how these things can fit if you really want them. If your standpoint from the beginning is that you ain't going to pick someone like that, or that you're going to criticize someone for saying that actually I would put you first, I think that's a really, I don't know. But just when he was speaking to Sasha, I was like, I don't like the sound of that, and I just didn't think that his reasons were very sound reasons. Like, well, what are you here for? Like, if you're gonna like criticize her for wanting to put you first, and almost use that as like a yardstick to be like, see, this is another reason why we're so different. Like, you're going on like, one person supports Boris and the other person's like Jeremy Corbyn. Like these two things can never be like it doesn't. It's surely not that deep. Like if you care and like this person, which is what made me think. I don't know. I just think he's longing it out. I just think he's longing it out. And that's just from that conversation with Sasha, right? So after that conversation with Sasha, she's like, "Look, I've planned a double date thing. We're going to play creative golf, or whatever. Getting together and like have some fun. Let's remind them about having fun, and let's see if we can like jumpstart some sparks and stuff." Well, that did not go well. Polly and Nathan, he takes it to like a gym, I think, and he's letting her know that like that's how he kind of lets out a lot of his like frustration and his energy throughout the day. And it's interesting just hearing actually how his ADHD does affect him, and therefore like how Lacey supports him through that, because he's like, she's so super supportive, she's so patient, like she's really, really, really patient. And I think Polly actually does have like a little session and stuff with it, and she's like tired herself out. That's when she mentioned about the ADHD, and I was like, I completely forgot about that, like totally forgot about it. And she's like, me and Adam have never actually spoken about it, and it just made me think like the show, the people in it talk about how much time they're spending with each other. We had Alex and Holly yesterday where she's like, not once have you asked about my kids, and I'm like, I don't understand that. How do you spend that much time with someone with something that's so important to you or such a big part of your life, and you don't talk about it like at all? That's weird. That's very weird. So if she's got ADHD and he's never asked her about it, either he forgot like I did, or he's just not interested. But I don't see how that would never come up in all the time that you spend. I just find that really, really bizarre. But anyway, she she gets a really good appreciation for Lacey and how Lacey is with him as they're talking. In fact, just before that, actually, sorry. So back over at Adam and Amy's, because she wants to help him with the whole intimacy thing, she suggests maybe trying to spice things up and maybe going to get some like sexy lingerie and like, just to try and spice things up. Basically doing like a Charlene. So they go to this lingerie, like an Ann Summers or whatever, I don't know where they were. And, they're like looking at the different bras and the paints and all that kind of stuff. And he's, they're being quite flirty, but like bantery. He's like, maybe what you could do, like, is you could like try on the clothes, and then I can say, oh, these have been modeled, Polly. So I picked the best one that was on the model, and she was like, we're not doing that. I'm absolutely not doing that. I'm not trying on clothes for you and your wife. That's fine. It is like two school kids. Like it is. It feels quite innocent. It doesn't ever feel like he's really trying to make moves or anything like that. Just it's just like a lot of tongue in cheeky kind of stuff. He picks out some stuff and like some vouchers and all this kind of very bedroom toolkit, and I think some really nice things. But he's trying to find the size of Polly's bra size, I think, but he doesn't know. So Amy's like, "Oh, if you got your phone, just like text her." So he texts Amy, Polly, sorry, to be like, "Oh, what's your bra size?" And obviously, I'm guessing there's not. I don't think there's too much context around what he's doing or whatever. So Polly just gets this message, and her kind of paranoia, I guess, just goes into overdrive, and she ends up crying because she's like, not once has he ever done anything like this with me, and yet because he's now with Amy, he wants to go and be buying up bras and lingerie and stuff, and she's like, I just find it really like disconcerting, really, because he's just never done this. He's never, we can't even talk about intimacy, and yet he's out now there asking me for bra sizes and stuff. So Nathan's trying to console her, and obviously he's probably the worst person, not the worst person, but because he's not all about the words and stuff, it just feels like, oh, I don't know how much consolation he's going to be able to give to Polly. Yeah, she's getting all upset. Meanwhile, Lacey and Luke, so she's taking him to like a dancing class basically, so like a dance studio, and they've got bits, they've got boas, they've got like the dance shoes and whatever, and Luke's like, you know what, I'm gonna just throw myself into this. Like, why not? And I think she's very much like, I just wanted to see have fun basically and kind of loosen up. She's showing him some moves and stuff with the stepping and the grinding and all that kind of stuff. So they're doing all these kind of moves. To be fair to him, yeah, we can move. I mean, not all the way with the two step, but definitely some. There was some stuff going on, and then she kind of moves over to the chair. She was like, "Oh, you've got some kind of magic Mike moves or something," and he's like, if you get on that chair, I'll show you some magic Mike moves." And to be fair, he does end up doing a little bit of, from what the shoulders anyway, a little bit of grind, and but they just look like they're having again platonic, healthy fun. And I think it's just really interesting that they'd had the conversation. He's apologized for something he said he wasn't going to apologize for. The same kind of thing that he was kind of, I guess, cussing the picture for, he's kind of doing with Lacey on this chair. That was the only bit that I saw with the grinding bit, to be fair. But the rest of the dancing that they're doing, like he's having fun. Once they're finished, Lacey's like, "Oh, did you enjoy yourself today? Did you enjoy it and stuff?" He's like, "Yeah, do you know what? I really did. It was nice to kind of just let loose and be free and carefree." And he's like, "You're obviously like that, and it kind of just makes me. It's nice to be able to do those kind of things with someone who isn't stiff." And then it kind of goes on a little bit of a. He doesn't think about what he's saying. He's like, he's not able to do those things with Amy because she's stiff, like a plank of wood, like a piece of wood, like some styrofoam, like rigor mortis. Just all these different examples of things that are stiff and non-supple and again kind of not fun. And I do understand what he's saying in that, like, when he's trying to be like all like cute and flirty, she doesn't see it as that. She sees it as creepy. So Lacey's like, maybe just like dial it down with all of the cringe stuff and just be patient. Do you know what I mean? And it'll come. And I think that's really good advice. But I just think, you've got to be careful, man, because if she sees that, who wants to be called a piece of wood? You're a good 2x4, you are. Mm, mm, rigid. Nobody wants that. So I was already like, that don't sound good, Luke, man. That does not sound good. It then goes back to Kieran and the other crew. They all seem like up for it. Do you know what I mean? Like good spirits. Everyone's like in good spirits. But then there's this bit where Kieran's trying to help Christina I'm about to say put the ball, to actually put the ball. And as he's doing it, he's talking about holding the golf club. And the first thing that you learn is about like how to hold the shaft. And he's trying to make some like Kieran does some very tongue in cheek joke about holding the shaft and how it's best to hold it. And then she's like, I don't need any help. I didn't ask for any help, and I definitely don't need to know anything about no shaft because I wouldn't know, would I? I've not been near yours for a while. I mean, even that was a bit like, oh, rah. Then it doesn't really stop there because he then tries to carry on with this shaft joke and whatever, and she just licks the ball. The bit is over. The joke is done. Next hole. So she's kind of gone off, and it's just become awkward, like instantly awkward. So at one point, Sasha's like, "Oh, Christina, you sure you don't want Kieran to give you a hand and stuff?" And Kieran's like, "No, no, no, it's fine. She doesn't want my help. It's fine." But Christina's saying, "Look, we're not in a space for silly jokes right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to be romantic with me, absolutely fine. But making stupid jokes about shafts and stuff, I'm not in the mood for that. I'm not in the mood for that." So eventually, they're done with the game. So they're sat round and they're talking, and Sasha's saying that, like, "Oh, her and Kieran had some really deep chats and stuff this morning." And Christina's like, "Well, if you guys have had some deep chats and stuff, Kieran, is there anything you want to tell me?" And he's like, "Well, it wasn't that deep." And Sasha's like, "No, no, it wasn't that deep." She's like, and then they recount the story about the whole him picking passion and career over like a spouse. And then she's explaining the whole thing again about like, oh, but women, their roles in the house. And Christina's like, "Do you think I'm traditional?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm not traditional, no." He's like, "But when we asked the question about would you pick a husband or a career, like you said you'd pick a husband." And she's like, "Yeah, because that's what I'm doing right now." She's like, "I'm not getting any younger. I'm 31." She's like, "My focus right now is to find a husband." Did he say he was like, "A wife for me isn't a priority"? And she's like, "What are you doing here then?" He's like, "No, because I want a wife." He's like, "But I'm never gonna put a wife or someone above like my business, and I've already got my business stuff set up." And she's like, "I've got my business already." He's like, I'm saying I wouldn't put that person above everything because I've been crapped on before, and I'm telling you now, like, I wouldn't be doing that again." And at that point, I was just like, I find it just seems that the atmosphere is aggy anyway, so you're already kind of annoyed that she's probably annoyed, and now you're kind of like, you know, again, kind of attacking her for like for what I consider really being a really awesome thing to say, that I'm looking for someone to share my life with, and to me, that person is the priority. It's not a job, it's not a hobby, it's that person. And for some people, that's that's what they want. I don't think I don't see it as a negative thing. Again, if you choose to have career, that's fine. But I think the way he was kind of talking about it, it was almost kind of like, I don't know, it just came across quite cold, I thought. Then that's the point where he decides to drop about the list. And he's like, and actually, while we're on the subject, yeah, I've done the list, and you are alarmingly like my ex. Yeah, you could practically be sister, sister. Like you could be the same person. Aside from the fact, your one redeeming quality, yeah, is that actually where she wasn't outgoing, you are. So, mate, she got up from that table so quick, and I couldn't even blame her. Because even if that was the case, yeah, your delivery of that information was poor. It was so poor. So she's gone, she's all upset. Sasha's like, this is the worst double date I've ever been on. Like, this is terrible. I feel like I made everything worse. Polly and Nathan, they're getting ready for bed. She's got the bed. He's stopping on the sofa. And Amy and Adam bedding down for the night. But they do have like a pillow wall between them in the bed and stuff. And again, they are making jokes. He's like, I do tend to sleep with like, not with my wedding ring on, like also with no clothes. And she's like, I definitely keep my wedding ring on. And that sausage barrier is absolutely staying here. But again, it seems like it's Bants. He's saying what he's gonna make for in the morning, all his breakfast stuff and whatever. Lacey tucks Luke in because Luke's sleeping on the sofa while she takes the bed. I'm not quite sure what happens with Sasha and Kieran, or with Ross and Christina actually. But the next day, it looks as though that like Kieran's got his. Oh no, sorry, it does show. Kieran's got his own apartment, so he's staying on his own. I don't know what that meant for Sasha and Ross, but yeah, Kieran's staying on his own because his head is scrambled and he needs to like clear his head to know what he's thinking. And at this point, I'm like, I'm so bored of this, dude. I'm so bored of hearing this. Like everything that you've just said in the way that you just said it to this person that you think is amazing, yeah, is basically that I don't want you, bab. I don't want you. How many times are you going to show this person that you don't really want them? You've not been intimate with them. You've quite publicly said that I don't want to be intimate with you. I don't want to waste my time. You remind me of my ex, and the only good thing about you that's different from them is that you like to party a little bit. Put the girl out of misery, bro. Put the girl out of misery. This is ridiculous. And that was the first time that I shook my head and was really like, nah, man. These are some waste man things. Some waste man things. What are you doing? Just allow it then. Allow it and leave. People wake up the next morning. Adam's made all kinds of breakfast for Amy with the poached eggs and stuff. Like, he's picking out some of their clothes and everything's kind of it's just cushy and it's nice. Nathan's also making Polly breakfast after dragging her out the bed. That was jokes. Luke and Lacey are also having breakfast, so he's making breakfast for her as well, which is really interesting because Amy's like, Luke doesn't do any of this for me, but he did do it for Lacey. So I thought that was interesting. Anyway, Lacey and Luke end up sitting down talking, and she's like, and I'm really glad that we cleared the air. And he's like, yeah, me too. And he's like, look, to be honest, he's like, I feel like the reason that I said what I said was because I was kind of envious of, you know, of you, of Nathan and you, in that, that's the kind of thing that I'd like my wife to do, but she doesn't. To have that kind of free spirit and that comfortability and stuff. And it just made me think, gosh, that's, and I just thought, bro, why would you ever say that? Because you sat down there, and again, I love Luke, I really do. You'll never make me hate him. As much as I'm saying this, you'll never make me hate him. But you've publicly sat down there and like, praised your wife while pretty much lambasting Lacey for being not as scrupulous as you would like with her femme fatale. Like you've made it quite clear that like you're about the dignity and the integrity and all that kind of stuff. But then when you just with Lacey, you're like, oh, actually, do you know what? I said it because I was jealous, and I actually wish Amy was more like you. Like that's disrespectful, bro. It's disrespectful, and it comes across as disingenuous as well because you said it with chest. You said you weren't gonna apologize, and not only have you apologized, you now turn around and be like, actually, you know what? Let me take back what I said. I wish she was more like you. And even looking at Lacey's face, yeah, you know for a fact that she's coming back with the bad boy piece of information. She's coming back with it. So it's gonna bite you. It's going to bite you. Polly's really keen to get back to the house to kind of see what it was that Adam bought. So she's really keen to kind of see what this bra bit, what's going on there. Sasha's really happy to be back with Ross. She's just like, that was the worst double date thing ever. I'm so glad that week's done. And let's get you back to myself and let's just carry on doing our thing. Like I said, Kieran didn't stay with Christina and he's stopping in his own place. She's feeling hella lonely. I just feel really bad for her. Like, it's just like, rah, you really have been very, very patient to be at this point with this guy. This is like, yeah, I'm gonna just stay in another room, but whatever. You've got Nathan and Lacey. Lacey's back, happy to be back with him. He's back to be back with her. And Luke's happy to see Amy, but Amy's very, very quick to tell him this about the princess treatment that she was getting from Adam, like with the teas and the brews and the running the bath, which I'm sure that, well, I don't know if he actually ran her a bath, but maybe I think he was telling her what he does for Polly. So she's telling him what Adam does. He's like, he really, really like treated him like a princess. And Luke's like, I feel like she's kind of rubbing it in, and it does hurt a little bit to be like, oh, this is what this man's doing for his wife. Why aren't you doing this for me? But also, yeah, because that's kind of what you were doing on the honeymoon, right? Like, she came back and was like, you treated me like a princess. I wouldn't call someone making me bran flakes breakfast, bro. Dash some flakes in a bowl and pour on some milk. Okay, like, especially not every day anyway. Like, I feel like there's other things that you could do, particularly if you're gonna do that for Lacey. You could be doing that for her too. Then she goes further, to be like, the sleeping arrangements and stuff. Well, he's like, oh yeah, I took the sofa, Lacey had the bed, so how about you? She's like, oh, we both stayed in the bed. And so, but I know you'd be fine with that. And you can see him dying behind his eyes. Like, he was so, I would say angry, but maybe more disappointed and sad. He's like, I didn't know where to put myself. I didn't want to put my face. So I kind of felt for him because he obviously felt like that wasn't cool, but didn't want to come across as the protective, like, rational, like, husband. But yeah, he definitely felt that. With Polly, she's come in back to the apartment stuff and she's glad to be back. And Adam is sat down there like some Lothario with all the paraphernalia all over the bed, with the bra and the pants and the edible pants and the this that, and the other. And you can see even from the way that Polly is looking at all the items, and she's like, "Oh, so you had yourself a good time then." And already from the tone, it's about to be beef. It's about to be beef. So he's like, yeah, I thought it'd be really good, like, really like spice things up and like make things fun. And like, he's going through some of the things that are in the vouchers and stuff. And she's just like, I just think it's funny, yeah. It's not actually what she said, but like, that's a similar kind of vibe. I think what she said to the VT was that she's confused because it's gone from zero to like nothing happening to 100, where he's now buying her lingerie and like aids to assist in the boudoir. And she's like, I don't know what he wants. And there's this just come from on the back of the fact that like he's chilled with Amy, who happens to be beautiful. So now he's got I don't know. That's the vibe I'm getting as to what she's upset about. Because if I'm really honest, and this is not just because I don't really rate her, but I don't know what she's like. The crying, like, she cried with Nathan, and I get that because she's probably got all of her paranoia built up and stuff, and she can't see him, and she's beautiful and whatever. She's built up in her own head. I can kind of see with that a little bit. But you've now come back and you can see the spread he's put on for you, that he's had you in mind, your photo's still up there. He's telling you about all these things that like he's planning like to do. I'm like, I don't get it. Again, express yourself. If that's how you felt in the moment, you felt to cry, cool. But I totally got why, because then she got up and left. I totally get why he might feel deflated by that and was like, do you know what? I don't know what you want here. Like, I'm trying. It's like, unless it's the public PDA, which I think is obviously tied into her self worth of feeling worthy that a man will want to show her off. But I really feel that's something that she just has to like either work on for herself, yeah, um, and not put that on someone else. Because don't get me wrong, if I felt that someone was kind of like ducking out of being proud of me, that's different to someone that's overtly got to show me up and peacock. You don't need to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, as long as you're proud to be, and I'm seeing things from him that I wasn't seeing from him before. Him talking about them being a couple, like him like defending them as a couple with Alex. Again, here's me defending Adam, like defending her with Alex and stuff, standing up for her, standing up for what they have. Trying to be romantic with her, putting on that dinner and stuff. These are all little things, but like from the Arctic zero temperature of relationship they had in the first week, that's massive. He's gone to go and buy you sexy lingerie, yeah. Did anybody put that down on their MAFS 2024 bingo card? Because I didn't. I'm sorry. Buy what? For who? So, for me, I'm not saying that like her feelings aren't valid because that's how she feels, yeah. But it does come across as a little bit like pick your battles, man. Because you see now as well with the crying, and I get it. Again, feel how you feel. But when you cry over so many different things, yeah, naturally someone's gonna get far more desensitized to the crying, to the point where it's like you're crying again. I had you in mind, I had someone give me some great advice as to what we could do to make situations better, and and look, maybe the things that she wants don't have to be headboard banging activities. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just you know walking past and caressing her neck and that kind of thing. But there's something that Amy said that I thought was really important. You don't want to be told. In fact, sorry, it wasn't her that said it. It was Adam. He was like, even growing up, he's like, I've never had to be told what to do. He's like, I really like being able to have that spontaneity and that kind of stuff. And I suppose, when you're constantly being measured on what it is you're not doing, you're then the pressure's then on for you to do these things which don't feel normal. They feel alien. Um, so I can understand his hesitancy, but again, we are just talking about hand holding and neck touching or whatever. They're not like decipher this old Egyptian language. So I don't. I can empathize to a degree as to why she might have felt a bit thrown, but I do feel that she's letting her emotions ruin something that could have been quite exciting. Because again, the more that you put pressure on what it is that you want and what you need, the less someone's likely to give it to you because it just feels contrived and weird. Whereas if you just let it come naturally, like maybe he's made an effort here. It might not be exactly what you want, but he has made some kind of effort in order to help you guys get there. Let it play out. Do you know what I mean? Be excited for it. Like you've already had a cry to Nathan. It's not like you've not let it out. Do you know what I mean? Like just let that just formulate and permeate. Do you know what I mean? For at least a day, and then if like the next couple of days it's still like a bit weird and not great, then maybe express what it is that you felt uncomfortable with. But I don't know, man. The tear. I mean, when he came back and just said, "Look, I don't even know what to do now. I just feel like it's just about her feelings, and it just feels like a kick in the teeth." I absolutely felt it for him. I was like, "Do you know what, bro? Again on this one, I back you. I do. I do." And it cuts to tomorrow's like highlight. That's them at the dinner party. So I'm guessing this might be like the penultimate dinner party before next week. I'm guessing there's going to be one more dinner party, maybe, or maybe there won't be. Yeah, it looks like it kicks off because Lacey ends up telling Amy what Luke said about photo, and this is the thing, right? I was defending Sasha not even that long ago because my friend was like, "Nah, man." I was like, "No, no, no, no." Like she's unproblematic, but I'm like, how are you again barking at someone, anyone? You've had a lot of drama with Alex and stuff, yeah, and for you to quite publicly on TV go after and call someone a bomb bomb, I think is pretty like raw for someone that wants to be quite demure and all that kind of stuff. And yet again, you're now in an argument with Luke, who you went to Luke for Luke to console you. Like so, are you just now vexed with Luke because he chose to, you know, not stick up for Alex, but at least just make sure Alex wasn't alone when everyone was having that barrage of whatever we think. Is that the reason why, going for him? Because she's like, you are a people pleaser, like, and you'll basically say whatever you think is all right for whoever's there at the time. But she's kind of shouting it, like it's not like it's a conversation. So I'm like, where's all this agginess coming from? Alex isn't here anymore, Sasha. So why does your tone need to be so high? But prior to that, obviously Amy is very disappointed in Luke, and she's like, I now feel like an absolute d head, that you've said that. And then I think there's like anonymous letters and stuff, and then the Amy and Luke get a letter to say that basically he cares about other people's business more than his own marriage. So now I'm thinking, actually, was that Sasha who wrote that, and the fact that he was getting involved, as she called it, with the whole Alex situation. But as much as I didn't rate Alex, I didn't discount what it was that Luke did in that moment at all. So that's a bit weird. But then there's this whole meltdown with Christina and Kieran, and seeing him get upset like that made me think, actually maybe he isn't like just chatting bull, and he actually does care. Because why would you be so beside yourself, um, if you didn't care? So I don't know. That last little clip definitely saved it from what I was going to say about him in this episode. But I feel seeing that, I'm like, do you know what? Like this is obviously harder than maybe we are giving, or that I'm giving him credit for. Let's see. Let's see what happens. But just when you think that all the juggernauts of the beef have gone, there is still little creeps of stuff that are popping up. And at this point, I don't see any of these couples. Maybe Nathan and Lacey. Maybe. Maybe Nathan and Lacey. I don't know about Ross and Sasha. I feel like I, there's already been such volatility that I don't buy that there won't be more somewhere somehow down the line. And truth be told, I think I have kind of gone off Sasha as well, which is a shame because, like, she's from ends. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think that she. As I said, we'll see what happens in tomorrow's episode, and how it got to the point that she's hollering like, again, like in beef mode with Luke. I'm just like, I don't know why. Like, you could afford really now just to chill, because if you're talking about people being other people's business, yeah, aren't you kind of being in other people's business by telling him he's in other people's business? Because surely there'd be someone else to do that. If he's in other people, let him be in, let someone else you've had your beef, you've had your time, you don't need to be the spokesperson, so you don't need to do that then, dear. Would be my opinion. Kieran and Christina, I just think, again, we'll see what happens after tomorrow's episode, but like, I just feel like it's done, because he could be crying because Christina's upset, as opposed to him being like, I actually feel for this person, because he says something along the lines of like, I could actually be losing something that's probably the most amazing thing that could happen in my life and stuff. But people can say them things, doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they're actually crying about. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see what comes tomorrow. And then, yeah, Luke and Amy, who I thought were really solid, because she's already said already that honesty is an important thing to her, and she's called him out before to say, look, you say one thing to one person, you do another in front of other people. And I thought he gave a really good explanation as to where that came from, with the coming from a different country, wanting to fit in, and all that kind of stuff. But bro, nobody sent you to go and say that you wished your wife was more like the girl that you just said didn't have no dignity, no integrity, or no class. No one told you to do that, and you did that. You did that. So I think my exact words were, when the episode finished, I was like, I feel really disappointed, man. Again, never hate Luke, but well, never hate any of them really. Like, I don't know any of them to hate anybody, but um, he was just riding the green flag coattails there. But that was definitely not something that, because even if you are feeling like you're frustrated and you feel like you'd like your wife to be doing, X, Y, and Z, like, these aren't necessarily things that you need to band about and just undermine her, really, because that's embarrassing, I think. Especially coupled with the, you're like a piece of wood. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, it's not great. So, anyway, let's see what happens tomorrow. I can't believe there's less than 2 weeks left. I'd love to know what you guys thought of this. If you did enjoy this reaction, then please do drop me a like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. Thank you very much. And yeah, I guess I shall see you on the next one.